comments. It's even more wonderful that they come from one of the most obvious rising stars in the United States House of Representatives. I think we're fortunate to have our dinner this year in the midst of one of the most vigorously fought bid for the presidential nomination that I can recall in a long lifetime. Millions of new people have been brought into the political process, some for Hillary, some for Barack, but in the end, all of them will be working to bring about a better direction to Washington. Sometimes I think in elections we get off on sideline issues. We've heard quite a bit about elitists and what evil people elitists are. So I looked up the definition of the elite in Webster's dictionary, which is probably as good as any. The elite is a group or part of a group regarded as the best. That's it. Why, is there anything wrong with us running the best people? The Republicans have a lot of good people, but they seldom run them for office.
That's good.
Anyway, I have a ticket, not a ticket, one of these frequent flyer badges from Northwest Airlines. I think I've flown 1 million miles, almost as much as General Clark, maybe, on Northwest. So I have now a frequent flyer ticket that's called Platinum Elite. I think it's terrific. It gives me a chance to sit in first class if there's an empty seat up there. So if we've got some elitists in our party, thank God that we have the I think if we can talk about one of the real issues for just a few minutes, and I'm not going to take a long time tonight, it's the war in Iraq. I read all these columns that somehow the economy has replaced that war as the #1 issue. Well, that war has just about wrecked our economy. And it's run our national debt over $9 trillion. I can't get my mind around it, $1 trillion. I was just getting used to billions. And now we have a war that is estimated over the long run, taking care of all of these boys who've been damaged mentally and in their nerve systems. The long-term cost, according to our Nobel Prize-winning economist, Mr. Stiglitz, is going to be $3 trillion. Let me tell you how we got to $9 trillion. Mr. Bush, when he decided to invade Iraq, a country that had absolutely nothing to do with the 9/11 attack, he didn't intend to pay for it. He borrowed the money from China, from Japan, Saudi Arabia, from Germany and other countries. And he did something that had never been done by an American president before. He gave everybody a tax cut while we sent the troops off to Iraq in World War II. which I participated, we had an excess profits tax to make sure that the corporations supplying the equipment for that war didn't use it as a way to profiteer at the expense of the American taxpayers. We did that in World War I. We did it in the Korean War and other conflicts. So what happened is that the president cut his revenues at exactly the time he was increasing our expenditures. So probably we'll probably spend this year another 150, 200 billion on that war. Incidentally, that $9 trillion wasn't entirely Bush's debt. He gave $3 trillion to it. Ronald Reagan gave $3 trillion to it. These are those careful, penny-pinching conservatives that put in a total of $6 billion. All the other presidents contributed $3 trillion. And we Democrats are blasted as free-spending liberals. When I was growing up here in South Dakota, like most South Dakotans, my dad and mother were lifelong Republicans. I thought as a boy they were right, because there was so much talk about how much money Roosevelt was spending on the New Deal. Do you know what that New Deal cost? It took from 33 to 1940, 7 years. The entire budget of the United States government was $7 billion. The whole New Deal budgeting for 7 years, $49 billion. And what did we get for that $49 billion? Social Security, guaranteed bank deposits, rural electrification, a price stabilization for farm commodities, the shelter belt program, collective bargaining rights for working people, the Tennessee Valley Authority, the CCC program for young Americans, and the Works Progress Administration, the works under which the courthouse in my hometown of Mitchell was built. It's still a beautiful building there. And beautiful buildings like that were built all across this country, all within the content of those $7 billion a year New Deal budgets. Now, what did we get from the $3 trillion war in Iraq, which is a long ways from over, apparently? Well, first, to look at the Iraqi side, we were able to roll up a count of 600,000 Iraqis who have been killed since we occupied the country. I'm citing Johns Hopkins University for that figure. Tens of thousands of young Americans who have been crippled either in mind or body by this war. Our national position in the eyes of the world at an all-time low. I think that's a tragedy. I've always thought all of my life